everyone, and Happy New Year! Today we'll be covering the highly requested topic of homosexuality, and I ain't gonna lie, homo is my favorite four-letter word. So why haven't you addressed this yet, Laci? I mean, come on, it's a hot issue right now. I know. I waited because I didn't want to make a spectacle out of homosexuality, and I also didn't want to in any way, shape, or form condone homophobia. The subordination of minorities is completely unacceptable in present times. I mean, come on, this is not the Middle Ages, dude. But maybe we should take a trip there first. Before the Middle Ages, there was pretty much no attention paid to homosexuality. Nobody gave a shit. However, toward the 12th century, hostility toward homosexuality as unnatural began to take root. The church and influential writers like Thomas Aquinas gave the initial shove to a 7th century spiral that would gradually condemn any act that didn't make babies. Sodomy, sex outside of marriage, oral sex, and even sex in the wrong positions began to have religious and legal consequences. But in the late 19th century, the medical field, and more specifically the field of psychiatry, was growing, and they came in and said, hey, religion, we're gonna legislate sexuality, not you. So psychiatry bitch slapped the church, and homosexuality became labeled as a mental disorder. Now this might sound awful, but at the time that was actually progressive. I mean, you're probably not as likely to stone somebody for being ill as you are for breaking the law. In theory. Much of the 20th century was spent arguing about whether or not homosexuality was a mental disorder, and in 1973 the APA said, I guess that loving penises or vaginas doesn't make you a psycho after all, and they removed it from the DSM. Homosexuality means being attracted to the same sex. And that one night that you got freaky with your frat brother doesn't make you gay. I brought my close friend Adam, who happens to be gay, to talk a little bit more about this.
Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm gay. That means I'm naturally attracted to the same sex more than the opposite sex. Being gay is seeing in yourself the ability to have a healthy same-sex relationship. It's a label and an identity, but too often is assigned irrelevant and oppressive baggage.
That's right, because contrary to beliefs, being gay is not a fashion statement, it's not a phase, and it's not a mental disorder. The early schools of thought that we talked about in the last section were the reason that these ideas became so popular. However, the studies that led to these conclusions have long been thrown out on inconsistent logic and flawed experimental design that allows the experimenters' thoughts and opinions to come right into the results. Still, some people use this old pseudoscience to justify their intolerance. If you're asking yourself if people choose to be gay, perhaps you should ask yourself if you chose to be straight. It's just part of who they are. In my experience, people who think that others choose to be gay or hold hostility toward gay people have never had any personal relationships with people who are gay. At least not that they know about. When you don't have a pre-existing friendship, it's easy to turn a normal person into a 12-eyed monster with genitals growing out of their head. Perhaps the real question we should be asking here, instead of whether or not people choose, is whether or not it fucking matters. Today, homosexuality is in the public eye more than ever. The battle over Proposition 8 has continued to rage. And it's funny, the path of court cases that led to Proposition 8 looks suspiciously like the court cases that led to African American rights and women's equality. Oddly, a flamboyant portrayal of what it is to be gay has made its way into the media with the help of shows like Queer Eye for the Straight Guy and Boy Meets Boy. Unfortunately, in the eyes of the media, gay men are only flamboyant fashionistas that act a little bit like high schoolers. No offense, Holmes. And gay women are constantly portrayed as having really gnarly haircuts and apparently a bad sense of fashion. That's probably why everyone thinks I'm a raging lesbo. In the meantime, still, in present day 2011, individuals continue to be shot, stabbed, and hung for being gay. To make matters worse, the UN removed sexual orientation as something that was protected from arbitrary execution. It's like, are you kidding me? All of this over what people do privately and consensually in their own bedrooms? All of this while research keeps coming out showing that gay couples have less spousal and child abuse. All of this while the Constitution demands equal protection. All of this just to control who you can love based on your genitals. I'm Laci Green. I love you all. Thanks for viewing, and I'll be back with a new episode next week.